Hey Cowboys fans, on today's video we're taking a look at some of the top free agents the Cowboys could still sign with training camp just around the corner. Before we get to my list though, I want to hear from you guys. So scroll down to the pinned comment and reply right there with a free agent you want the Cowboys to sign. That's free agent and signing, which means I don't want to see a bunch of Jamal Adams responses. It's got to be a current free agent. Now, some people might tell you the Cowboys are tight on cap space. They're really not. They can make this work pretty easily. They might not go after a big name because the Cowboys do love to go bargain shopping, but the Cowboys can make a free agency signing work for pretty much any player out there, even the big names that we'll lead off with because I know you guys want to talk about them. So they have cap space. They can easily create more. The Cowboys haven't always shown much interest. Now, one of the ways they can make some of that cap space is by cutting or restructuring the contract of Tyrone Crawford. There's upwards of $8 million to be saved if they were to cut him. The Cowboys haven't shown interest in doing that quite yet, which I know upsets many of you because you guys are downy for Clowney and you want to go sign Clowney right now and bring him on the roster. At least some of you do, and I understand that. Now, there was a report that Clowney had the Saints and Cowboys at the top of his preferred destinations list. As we've broken down more recently, maybe not actually the case. The Cowboys don't spend money on big-name outside free agents. They haven't really done that since Brandon Carr. Anything above $7-ish to $8 million doesn't really happen for the Cowboys. Now, Clowney is one to make an exception for because I could cut Tyrone Crawford, spend a little bit more money, and then in theory, Clowney has a big breakout year, puts up like 10 sacks, and then you let him leave in free agency, and you get a third-round comp pick. As of this point, the Cowboys simply haven't shown any real interest in doing so. So what is the most you would pay Clowney on a one-year deal? What is your price point in mind? Now remember, it's not like Madden. If no one's putting out interest, you can't just lowball him and sign him. That's not really how things tend to work out in the NFL. Clowney wanted $20 million, came down to like 17. It's probably come a little bit further down, but I'm not convinced he's yet in the Cowboys' price range. Let's go now to another defensive end option, Everson Griffen, who I think would be cheaper than Clowney. Now, he doesn't carry the ability to kick inside like Clowney does, but he's been a very reliable and highly productive number 2 pass rusher. I would explore it if I were the Cowboys, but again, money is a factor. A player where money might not be as big of an issue is one Clay Matthews. Now, Matthews is older. He's not the same guy he was in his prime. He was cut by the Rams in free agency. I think, strangely, hasn't had the same caliber of interest that I would expect. Yeah, he's coming off an 8-sack season, a bit inflated, but wouldn't you take 4 or 5 sacks at this point from a free agent late in the process? I think I certainly would. And there is the potential benefit that, hey, Clay Matthews, he knows Mike McCarthy pretty darn well. So there are those, I think, sort of the 3 big and the 3 most sensible free agent options at the edge spot. There are guys like Marcus Golden, I think, ends back up with the Giants. But those are the quote-unquote big 3 passers out there right now. So pick one of them to sign. Would it be Clowney? Type in your C's. Would it be Everson Griffen? Type in your G's. Maybe it's Clay Matthews. You guys type in your M on that one. Now, we're going to talk about some wide receiver targets, but before we do, folks, the CeeDee Lamb jerseys are still under $80. Chatsports.com/CD jersey. Of course, the CD is spelled out just like his name. Under $80, they ship or have free shipping, That link's in the comments and the description, so go check it out at chatsports.com/CD jersey. All right, on to the receiver discussion. I love the top 3, Cooper, Gallup, and Lamb. Find me a better trio in the NFL. It's the 4, 5, and I guess maybe 6 spot that has me a little bit concerned, and there are some veterans out there who might make some sense. Now, I had to include Dez Bryant on this list because I know how we are as Cowboys fans. But I don't think this is going to go down. I think there are, in theory, better fits out there for Dez Bryant where he's not just going to be a backup option who, frankly, if he's your 4th or 5th receiver, he might not be active on game days either. But do you guys still want Dez? I think that the drafting of CeeDee Lamb in round 1 pretty much killed the Dez Bryant dream. I guess there's still a sliver of hope out there somewhere. So cast your votes. Throw up that X in the comments for yes or type N for no. Another former Cowboy who I think actually makes a little bit more sense, although maybe he's not as good, is Tavon Austin. Now look, Tavon's never going to be what you want him to be. He's never going to be the 1 to 2 dozen touches per game player. But as some depth at receiver and some special teams value for a player who played under the Cowboys special teams coach, that makes some sense. Next up is Taylor Gabriel. Many of you have asked about him before, and I understand why. Is he a starter? Probably not. But as a number 4 receiver, I think he might be the best one out there, at least for what he would really fill for the Dallas Cowboys. He would add depth, some veteranability. Now, his size screams slot receiver, right? 5'7", 170. He's not, though. He's actually been more of an outside guy in the NFL. Maybe that's an issue for the Cowboys. Maybe it's not. But I would at least explore it if I were Dallas. I would also explore maybe one more tight end option. Now, of course, free agents, so we're not trading for Njoku or O.J. Howard right now. Delaine Walker, though, would make me feel better about the tight end room if Blake Jarwin got hurt. Jarwin's your number 1 guy. Bringing in Walker would not change that. And although Walker is older and has been banged up a lot, there is still ability, I think, left in his tank. And Dalton Schultz, Blake Bell, those are decent blockers. But if Jarwin goes down, do you guys trust Schultz? Do you guys trust Blake Bell? I certainly don't, so I wouldn't mind some added depth and security. Maybe it's in the event that there is an injury, but I think Walker could provide that for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, we've told you guys about these t-shirts before. They are still on sale. Chatsports.com/CowboysStrong, the Fanatics and NFL Stronger Together gear. They've got a variety of styles. They've also got hoodies available as well. And as a bonus, all of the proceeds from these sales go to the COVID-19 relief funds for the NFL. For the Cowboys, that's the Salvation Army COVID relief fund. So go check out what they have. Links in the comments and the description at chatsports.com/CowboysStrong. Let's talk secondary now, and I'm going to focus in on the safeties. I do want to acknowledge the cornerback spot, though, because the Cowboys drafted 2 guys and then signed Daryl Worley and retained Awuzie, Lewis, and Brown. I don't think they're going to pursue another corner. I could be wrong on that. I just don't think that is the path the Cowboys are going. Instead, safety jumps out as a big-time need to me. First up is Eric Berry, who, if he's healthy, yes, sign me up. Here's the problem. Is he healthy? I don't think so. I know he wasn't healthy last year because the Cowboys brought him in for a visit and then didn't sign him. Berry has played in 3 games since 2017. That is it. We are in 2020 right now. Now, maybe Berry's foot is finally healed properly. I have some doubts. If he's healthy, different discussion. But until we get word that he actually is, I'm not going to get my hopes up. Next up is Reshad Jones, the former Dolphins safety, who I remember you guys trying to trade for him. Now here he is, still unsigned. Dolphins cut him before the NFL draft. He's just not the same guy he was in his prime when he got that massive contract from Miami. But what he can do is still help as a strong safety, which I think carries value because the Cowboys got a bunch of free safeties on this team. Thompson, Wilson, Hocklin, Dixon, and Xavier Woods, I think, are all free safeties, so that intrigues me. But my favorite option at safety is Eric Reid. He was solid last year. He was a starting caliber safety for the Carolina Panthers, but he was cut and hasn't been picked up since then. Tackling machine, best in the box. If I'm adding a player at this stage in the offseason, I'm looking for someone who can do more than one thing. What I can do with Eric Reid is I can make him a strong safety, and if I have injuries there, great. I can plug him in and start him opposite Clinton Dix or Xavier Woods. If I have linebacker issues, well, I can just play Eric Reid there because it's 2020, and we should be using more big nickel anyway. So for this question, I'm going to type in my 3. I'm going to try and sign Eric Reid if I were the Dallas Cowboys. But if you guys disagree, you can type in your 1 for Eric Berry or your 2 for Reshad Jones. I think Eric Reid is the best option. A, I know he's healthy. B, I think he's the best of those other 2 guys not named Eric Berry when healthy. And he can do more for me on this Cowboys team. Up next is a fatty only. And more on that coming up, you guys know it. Damon Harrison. The Cowboys haven't shown interest. Harrison kind of expressed some. They signed Dontari Poe instead, which made the nose tackle need not really much of a need anymore. But I am intrigued by the idea of throwing out Damon Harrison and Dontari Poe together, especially with Antwaun Woods kind of in this weird spot where he is an exclusive rights free agent, but hasn't signed the deal as of yet, which makes him kind of on the roster, kind of not on the roster. If he isn't a factor, well, then Tristan Hill and Neville Gallimore, well, those guys are simply three techniques. I'd like one more big guy on the interior, and Damon Harrison would fit that mold pretty darn well. And him and Dontari Poe stopping the run on 3rd and short, well, that is peak Fatties Only, folks. And if you haven't already, go get yourself a Fatties Only 2020 t-shirt. They are available at chatsports.com/Fatties Only. Yeah, the pass rush is important, but we got to get some big boys on the interior to help stop that run. And I hope this season, the climax of Fatties Only becomes a Dontari Poe touchdown. He's done it before. If we can get a fat guy touchdown, man, we will have peaked. Over now to the offensive line. I'll go a little bit quicker on this one. Ron Leary is a name that a player that I know many of you like. Common theme here, not the same guy he was, because if he was, he'd be signed, right? The Broncos didn't pick up his option. He's injury prone, trying to get healthy. When we did this video last time, just after the NFL draft, of course, much has changed. One of those things that changed was the Cowboys added Cam Irving and paid him in a way that makes it clear he's going to make this team. That's one less spot. And with Tyler Biadasz on the roster and Connor McGovern, even though I like Ron Leary, unless there's an injury for Williams or McGovern again, I don't know where the spot on the roster is for him, because I don't think he'd start over those guys. He'd be some nice veteran depth, but I'm not going to get my hopes up at this point. Some other big names who I'm sure you guys might mention in that pinned comment. Logan Ryan, again, Drake Kirkpatrick, I think they're going to have to go after corners. Larry Warford wants a lot of money. Also, he's a right guard, and the Cowboys have the best right guard in the NFL. So how does he actually fit in on this roster? Two other receivers that I could not mention on this video, Josh Gordon and Antonio Brown. Now, if the Cowboys were in need of a number 3 receiver, maybe I'd change my mind on that one. But I don't want to bring in Antonio Brown's head case onto this team. And as for Josh Gordon, well, I think he ends up back in Seattle, and I don't want to deal with another problem player on the team. Hey, Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.